What's up guys, it's Tommy here and welcome to the Tottenham Manchester United post-match analysis video. What did you think of the game? And also the biggest question I think of this Premier League season is who will finish in the top 4, or in the case of Manchester City's 2-year Champions League ban being upheld, who will finish in the top 5? Because even 5th place, currently occupied by Manchester United, could be qualification for the Champions League. And I think Chelsea, Tottenham, Manchester United, Wolves, Sheffield United are very even, very close. And whoever team will be most consistent and wins the most games between now and the end of the season has a very good chance of getting Champions League football. I think Manchester United improved massively since Bruno Fernandes signed for them in January. He is one of the players that Manchester United desperately missed. He is a really good player, and also when Pogba came on in the second half, I felt that Manchester United improved massively. It looks like Pogba finally is focusing on just the football. He doesn't have the fancy haircuts, and it's a shame that Pogba doesn't produce magic in every game, because he is definitely capable of that. I think in the first half Tottenham were slightly the better team. Manchester United had more of the possession, but Tottenham had more of the chances, and they hit Manchester United with a devastating counter-attack after a pretty big mistake by Luke Shaw. He heads it to Rashford, who loses the ball, but I think it was Luke Shaw's mistake, because after he headed it, Luke Shaw started bombing forward, even though the ball wasn't Manchester United's still. And Bergwijn, the new signing, got the ball and he just ran past Maguire like he wasn't there. That was championship level defending. I'm sorry, Harry Maguire, he's the most expensive defender in the world, but he should hold his head in shame, because that was just awful defending. And then Bergwijn has a shot pretty much straight at the hair, and he just punches it into the roof of the net. And David De Gea, I'm sorry, but he should lose his place to Henderson, the Sheffield United goalkeeper, who is on loan from Manchester United. Man United should call back Henderson at the end of the season, and they should really let De Gea and Henderson fight it out for the #1 goalkeeping spot, because De Gea, season after season, he is declining. Normally goalkeepers with age, with experience, they get better and better, but De Gea is going the other way. And who knows what the reason for that is. Maybe his head is just not right. It looks like that he just has this lapse of concentration. He loses concentration, and in the right moments, sometimes he just makes big mistakes. On this level, from a apparently world-class goalkeeper, Spain #1 goalkeeper, Man United #1 goalkeeper, that's just not good enough in my opinion. That goalkeeping being for De Gea, from De Gea, you don't see those kind of mistakes from Alisson, from Ederson, from Ter Stegen, from Manuel Neuer. The best goalkeepers don't make those kind of mistakes, and I'm sure, sorry to say, but De Gea, it looks like, might not be Manchester United's #1 goalkeeper next season. I mean, he shouldn't be, apparently, judging by the mistakes that he made. Also, Marcus Rashford had a great game, but sometimes the Tottenham defensive line was so compact that Manchester United found it hard, especially in the first half, to get Martial and Rashford on the ball, and that was down to Mourinho's tactics, but also it was down to maybe a little bit of a lack of creativity on Manchester United's part. But I think Rashford could have capitalized massively on a big mistake by Davinson Sanchez, who heads it straight into Rashford's path, and he had a snapshot which Hugo Lloris saved. And by the way, Hugo Lloris made a couple of incredible saves. De Gea somewhat redeems himself when he saves Heung-min Son's header, who also was very lively. Harry Kane, though, was way off the pace. He didn't even get into the game properly, Harry Kane. He didn't really have a good chance. He missed a lot of football, to be fair to him, but Harry Kane, I think, still needs more matches to regain his sharpness, and maybe physically he wasn't up to the top standards. And by the way, talking about physically who is up to the standards, Mason Greenwood, I think that's his first name, Mason. Greenwood looks like he hit the gym in the current quarantine period, in this lockdown past 3 months. He really bulked up. Apparently he gained 3 kilograms of muscle, Mason Greenwood, especially his upper body. He looked like really a slight kid before lockdown, and after lockdown he looks like a man. And Man United have some very talented attackers. If they can get the tactics right between Bruno Fernandes and Pogba and Martial and Rashford, and also they have Greenwood, they have Igalo, they have other Daniel James, other attacking players. If they can get this right, this Man United team have a lot of attacking firepower. What they need to improve on, in my opinion, is defensively. I mean, De Gea, Maguire, they just have sometimes defensively too many players who are prone to some errors or bad judgment. And by the way, Hugo Lloris, what a save by Hugo Lloris on Martial. If you saw the game, you know what I'm talking about. Martial had a great first touch and then he shoots. The ball is going into the top corner, but somehow Hugo Lloris reaches out and parries it over the bar. And by the way, this was a pretty controversial game because John Moss, the referee, who looks very unfit, I'm not sure how he passes the refereeing tests, by the way. Actually, Man United gets 2 penalties in this game. Paul Pogba came on and he bamboozled Eric Dyer, and I think that was a little bit harsh, but you can give that as a penalty. The second penalty, and by the way, Bruno Fernandes brilliantly dispatches the penalty, but it looks like Manchester United will rotate between players, between penalties, because when John Moss gave a second penalty for Man United in the 90th minute, which, by the way, Jose Mourinho was absolutely apoplectic on the touchline. He was losing his temper because that was never a penalty, and thank goodness for VAR. This time VAR worked and they overruled that penalty. But what I wanted to say is that Marcus Rashford was the player who was going to take Manchester United's second penalty before VAR overruled the referee. Rightfully so. I think that was the correct decision because Bruno Fernandes made the most of that and pretty much dived into Eric Dyer, who already gave a foul away, and it would have been incredibly harsh on Tottenham, who I felt that even though Man United were the better team in the second half, Tottenham still deserved the point for the way how they played in this game. This was a very, very entertaining game, and this was probably the Premier League game that I enjoyed the most since the Premier League resumed. But of course we only are 4 games in, and I'm just watching the highlights, and it's still funny how Jose Mourinho was absolutely fuming when the referee gave that penalty. And I fully understand that was never a penalty. It was pretty much a dive by Bruno Fernandes, which I really hope that he eradicates from his game, because you don't want to see that in the Premier League. And otherwise, Bruno Fernandes is a great player. He's actually enjoyable to watch, especially with how many long shots he takes. I mean, in the 5 games previous to this game, he took 14 shots from outside the box, which is a pretty outrageous number. So VAR overruled the referee, so it wasn't a second penalty, but it was actually Marcus Rashford who had the ball in his hands, ready to take the penalty. So I think it's very interesting that Man United will rotate between Rashford and also Bruno Fernandes, who took the penalty. And it could have been last minute drama. In the 95th minute, Mason Greenwood gets the ball and he goes one-on-one with the Tottenham left back, and he does a step over and then shoots just narrowly wide of the far post. If that goes in, Man United players would have gone crazy. But overall, a draw is a fair result, and this leaves pretty much the top 4 race pretty unchanged. But if Wolves beat West Ham tomorrow, I think they play tomorrow, they can jump up to 5th place, I think, ahead of Manchester United. And if Wolves can get off to a flyer in this Premier League restart, I actually fancy Wolves to get either 5th or 4th in this Premier League season. But of course, let me know, guys, what did you think of the game? I felt it was a very, very entertaining game. Very good tactical battle with some great goals, some good plays, and some individual mistakes as well. And I felt that the tempo was pretty high, intense, even though this was the first game back for both teams. And I think Tottenham need to do more. They need to take more risks if they want to get into the top 4, because Mourinho's tactics, you know, it's not very enjoyable to watch against even against sometimes the smaller sides. He just sits back and tries to hit tries to hit teams on the counter attack. I think Tottenham need to be more dominant on the ball. They need to be more aggressive and attack more if they want to get the top 4, because getting draws against the big teams is all fine and well, but Tottenham should be beating all the smaller sides if they want to get into the top 4. But there are not many points between 4th, 7th or 8th place in the Premier League. It's a very tightly congested league, and it will be fascinating to see who gets top 4 this season, or top 5 if Man City's ban is upheld. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. See you later, guys. Goodbye.